Imagine taking a complete architectural visualization project and designing it in less than 24 hours, complete with walls, floors, lights, decorations, props, everything. No asset packs, no modeling, just AI and a little bit of creativity. Hey there, my name's Luke and I lead the team over at Tinker Studio. One of the most common types of project that we get as a studio is architectural visualization pieces, which is essentially where we work with a company or a brand and we take their sketches and their floor plan and we bring that to life as a complete 3D model where they can then walk around the space and they can actually be there without, well, actually being there because they're there in virtual reality. What I want to do in this video is show you how I turned around a complete project like this in less than 24 hours by just using AI to generate every single asset that I needed for this project. Mind-blowing stuff. AI is game-changing for this industry, and it's so important that we jump on trend for this. So hopping inside of Unreal Engine then, you can see I've actually got a complete 3D model. It's not just those nice renders that I showed you. This is actually a space that is fully 3D that I can fly around, I can go absolutely anywhere with, and of course I can move things, I can prototype things, I can do whatever I want in this space. And of course the ultimate hero piece for this is, because this is in Unreal Engine, we're able to take this and put people in VR in this space, which is just nuts. Okay, so step number one is going to be all about taking our floor plan, our 2D image of our space, and bringing it into Unreal Engine so that we can start turning it into a 3D shell. So we're going to do that together. But first things first, we need to make sure that we're working inside of a VR project in Unreal Engine. Hop over to the Epic Games launcher and open up the latest version of Unreal Engine that you have. In my case, that's Unreal 5.7. Then, just like any other VR project, we're going to go over to the Games tab, use this virtual reality template, and we're just going to give this a name, VR AI Demo 1. Name it whatever you want. Go ahead and hit create. Sweet, Unreal Engine has opened. It's now time to bring our floor plan in. Now, in terms of bringing our floor plan in, the very first thing I'm going to do is just go ahead and press File, New Level of the type Basic, and delete the floor. Now, when it comes to bringing a floor plan into Unreal, we're going to be taking a PNG image and just importing this into our content browser and projecting it onto a plane. I've already got an image for this floor plan on my computer. I'm sure you can put one together from any kind of venue that you're trying to build. It's the same goes for if you're working for levels too. You'll probably have a top-down sketch of the level and we can bring that in. So what I'm going to do is just make a new folder and I'm just going to give this a name, ArcViz. Again, you can name it anything you want. But then in terms of having my floor plan in here, I'm just going to make a folder for the floor plan just to keep everything super organized. Then when I'm ready, I'm going to go ahead and press import and I'm going to find my file. So for me, I've got my floor plan here just as a PNG, like I said. I can go ahead and open this up and then that's going to import it as a texture. Now, of course, for us to be able to use this in Unreal Engine in our space, we need to create a material out of this. To do that, right click and create a material, and I'm going to give this the name m_floor plan. With that done, we're now ready for us to put this into our space. So to do that, the easiest way is to take our shapes and just take a plane and just drag and drop it into your scene here. But then with this, we can take our floor plan now and we can drag it onto our plane. And of course, we can scale this up. So it covers our space, and this is going to be our foundation for building on top of. If you want to make sure it's scaling uniformly, so we're not stretching our floor plan, we can just go to our scale and we can make sure this is a round number like 20 by 20. And you can see now we have got all of this. Now with this, of course, you are going to want to make sure that it's like to like for whatever the scale ratio is of your floor plan. In this case, I know that this floor plan is 100 to 1. So the floor plan is 1/100th of the actual size. So you can do the measurements and line all of that up. But for now, I'm just going to estimate this by just setting it to 100 by 100, which is going to give me my floor plan, and it looks great. So with our floor plan in here as our ground, we want to make sure the scale looks good when we actually go into VR. So we're going to do a quick couple of things, just normal VR stuff. Make sure the floor's got collision, make sure we've got a player start, and then make sure there's also navigation in there. Let's jump back into Unreal and do that super quick. Player start, we can see we have already got one in here. Just make sure that this is above the ground and in your space somewhere. Then with my floor, I'm just going to make sure this has got collision by selecting my plane, search for collision, and I'm just going to make sure my collision preset is set to block all so it works with VR. Then lastly, what I'm going to be doing is just making myself a nav mesh bounds volume, just dragging it into my scene and scaling it up throughout my entire playable space here. Then I'm going to go ahead and press P to toggle my pathing view. And as you can see here now, it's all green and it's all visible. And at this point, we should be ready to jump straight into VR and test this. Again, if you want to learn a little bit about VR and all of the foundational stuff to get a VR experience working, make sure you check out the content on our channel and also our courses over on tinker.academy. Okay, so testing it in VR is simple as just going to these three dots here and clicking on your VR preview. Of course, making sure your headset is set up for all of this. But let's take a look at how it looks. So inside of VR then, you can see I've got my floor. And what I can do is I can use my keys to walk around this, and I can go up to my doors, I can look around, I can go up to my other doors, I can see the bar here, I can visualize all of this, and I've got a foundation that I can just start building my walls on top of. Let's do that. Okay, now that we have seen that we can get our floor plan, it's in VR, and it's to the correct scale, it's time to start building some walls and floors and ceilings. Let's do that. Easiest way to do it is to use the geometry tools that are built into Unreal Engine. So I'm going to go over to geometry, I'm going to go to box, and I'm just going to start building out things like my walls. So I'm just going to move this into place, stretch it over, but what you can see here, all I'm doing to turn this into a 3D shell for us to start putting props inside of is I am literally just tracing over my floor plan here. It's the best, most perfect visual guide that I could possibly ask for. And in terms of turning this shell, turning this floor plan into a 3D shell, you could probably turn something around like this in about 15 minutes. You can see here already how quickly I'm just going in and just using the default Unreal Engine transformation tools here to do just that. Now, what I'm not going to do is sit here and teach you how to suck eggs and make you, watch me put together this complete shell here. It's really straightforward stuff. I am just literally taking this one box, resizing it, copying it, pasting it, and doing all of that kind of stuff until I get my complete shell. So feel free to pause the video here, build your shell, or if you're just watching it for entertainment purposes, that's okay too, but I'm going to stop building this shell and go back to the model that I had from before so that we can just get straight into making some 3D assets ourselves. Okay, so at this point, we now have our floor plan in Unreal Engine in a VR setup. Step 2 then is all about taking some assets and building them. And when I say taking some assets, I mean either finding images of an asset that we want on Google Images or using ChatGPT to generate an image that our 3D software can use to make that model. The 3D software that I've been using to create these 3D models is Meshy. Now, like I said at the beginning of the video, there is so many other providers that are going to do this, but the process is going to be very similar. So with that being said, just jumping into Unreal Engine for a second here, you can see I have got a calf, and you can see I've got a till, and I've got a coffee machine, and I've got some cakes and stuff. All of this was made with AI. But I want some more assets. So I've got my shell, kind of like I would have built in the previous section, but I just want more assets, and that's where we're going to do that. The asset in particular that I want is a slush machine, like a slush puppy machine in the back. And of course, something as weird and random as that, I'm never going to find it on the Fab store. Making a model of it myself is going to be awful. So I'm now going to use my process where I use ChatGPT to generate an image of this in such a way that the 3D software can build it easily. And then I'm going to use that 3D software to build it in such a way that it's optimized, ready for us to use in Unreal Engine. So just hopping over to ChatGPT, what I'm going to do is just simply ask it to generate me an image of a slush puppy machine with 2 compartments on a transparent background. And the reason why we do this on a transparent background is just so the 3D software Meshy that we're using can find exactly what we want to model without any other distractions or anything else getting in the way. So let's do that. Okay, and just like that, ChatGPT has generated my image of the slush puppy machine, and I like it. But because we're using AI, I can tell it to change the colors of this. I can tell it to look exactly how I want it to look. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell it now to generate me that image, but make one compartment be lime, one be strawberry, and then also make sure that I've got some kind of light box at the bottom and a black base. Perfect. And just like that, I've got my updated render. So hopefully you can start to see just how nice it is to use ChatGPT to generate these images, because we can get the images to look exactly how we want them to. Anyway, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go ahead and download this so that we can put it into our software, which is Meshy. Okay, so the next step is going to be taking this into Meshy or any other kind of 3D software or 3D model generating software. Now, just wanted to quickly show you around what I've got inside of Meshy. Inside of Meshy, I have made so many different assets. I've got little tabletop pieces, I've got green walls, I've got shuffleboards, I've got timber frames, I've got plants, I've got food hoists, I've got beer glasses, everything. All of this, every single prop that I have in my scene, I have made through this. I have generated the images through ChatGPT to dial in the look of what I want, and then I put it into here. So let's take a look at this. Now, with Meshy, it is something that you do have to pay for, unfortunately. I'm not sure if there is a free trial. I think there might be. But if you want to do large number of assets like I have, then you will need to pay for it. But again, the subscription on this is way cheaper than buying assets or the time that you would spend building them yourself. Anyway, I'm going to be using the function here for image to 3D. And with this, all I have to do is simply choose here to drag and drop an image into this and then tell it to generate. So what I'm going to do is find that image on my computer that I generated with ChatGPT, and I'm going to drag and drop it into this. Then in terms of these settings, because this is symmetrical, I'm going to turn my symmetry on. My license, I'm going to keep this private. The name, it's automatically generated from the image. It's detected what it is. And I'm going to leave the rest of these settings as it is. And of course, use the latest AI model because they're always going to be better. But once I'm ready, I can go ahead and press generate. And in just a few minutes, we're going to have the basic model. Okay, just a few minutes later, it has generated my model. I've got this complete slush machine. It's even done the back and it's done the sides as well. Now, one thing I will mention with this is the faces. This slush machine is 500,000 polygons. That is not game friendly as it is right now. But luckily, this has got tools built in to make this game friendly. So let's do that and then we'll texture it in just a moment. So what I'm going to do is go down to remesh, and I can then of course choose how many polygons I want this to have as a maximum. It's quite a complex piece. So I'm actually going to set this to 100, but that's 1/5 of what's there already. And then I'm going to go ahead and confirm this. And then again in just a minute or two here, we're going to have our updated model. Perfect. And again, just 30 seconds later, I've now got my updated model, which looks not really too much different to my old model, except it's just a little bit cleaner in terms of the geometry. Now, for me to texture this, there is a single button to press texture. And then again, I have an option for PBR maps. If you're using Unreal Engine and a physically based rendering workflow like we are, make sure this is turned on and hit texture. And just like that, it has generated a texture for our 3D model. We've now got a really nice 3D model that looks metallic, it looks realistic. We've got our two different compartments here, and it's ready for us to bring into Unreal. Okay, moving on to this next step. Bringing this into Unreal Engine could not be simpler. Meshy has got loads of export tools for this. So with our 3D model selected, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the download button, and then inside of here, I'm going to have my format as FBX, as that's what Unreal Engine is expecting. But then there's also a resize option and a automatic size determination tool to figure out how big this should be. But then when I'm ready, I can literally press download, and I'm sure the process for any other 3D model generator is going to be exactly the same. It's going to take a couple of seconds, but then we have got a zip file, which is going to contain our FBX, which is our 3D model, and all of the textures we're going to need. So what I'm going to do is just on my computer, I'm just going to unzip these somewhere. And then with that done, I'm going to open Unreal. In an empty space, I'm just going to then find my FBX file, make sure it's just your FBX file that you've got selected, and then drag and drop this in, and then leave all of the settings as they are and press import. And you can see here, we've now got our slush dispenser, and I can put this onto the back wall. And of course, with this, I can rotate this, and I can put it in place just like this. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger than it is. Actually, yeah, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger than it is right now. But you can see, just like that, we've now got an asset for our scene, and it fits in and looks fantastic. So that's it. We've now gone through the entire process of how I use my floor plan and bring it into Unreal to build the shell. But then in terms of making the assets to fill this up, we've used Meshy and we've used ChatGPT and this workflow to very quickly create an asset in minutes. You can probably create 30, 40 assets every single hour using this workflow, and they're going to look great. And of course, because this is a VR project, you can put someone inside of this in the VR headset and let them walk around. So you can see I've got my scene here with my slush machine in here. I'm going to jump into VR and show you how it looks. Of course, the lighting's not going to be as nice as this, as I'm using path tracing, but if you invest some time in the lighting, you can get it looking pretty good. So just like that, you can see I'm now inside of VR, and I'm able to look around inside of my space. Everything's to scale, and I can see my 3D asset that I made here, my slush machine in the background. I can even use my teleportation to get a little bit closer to this so that I can see it there. It feels like I'm actually in this venue that has not been made yet. This is some truly incredible stuff. It is fantastic. So that is my entire workflow in terms of how I created this. Hopefully you can see just how powerful it is. You know, I'm making asset after asset super quickly. And with that, we're able to populate these kind of projects in no time at all. And in the case of commercial projects like this, yeah, it just adds so much value, not just to me because I can do things quickly, but because I'm able to add value for money to the clients, and I'm able to give them iterations and versions way quicker than I normally can. This workflow is only going to get better as well as these AI models are going to improve. Also, I know a lot of people are going to be thinking, we're just taking jobs away from 3D modelers, and that's not necessarily the case at all, because it's going to allow 3D modelers to create more assets more quickly. But also, in terms of getting these to be truly optimized and to get the textures looking, you know, perfect, and to be able to do the things that AI can't do with these models, you've got to get a modeler to do that. So See it more as, it's enabling people to do more and to focus more on the polish and all of that fun stuff. Really interested in hearing your thoughts on how AI is going to just change the industry. So as well, it's not just ArcViz, this applies for games as well. If you want to learn more about Unreal Engine and virtual reality, definitely go ahead and check out our website, tinker.studio, and our Unreal Engine Ultimate VR course. Also, subscribe if you haven't done so already. That's everything for today. As always, I hope you have enjoyed it. Stay awesome, keep creating.